Today, we will discuss the global reactions to the recent United States presidential election. From Israel to Ukraine, Russia to the Taliban, world leaders have shared their thoughts on the re-election of Donald Trump. How do different nations perceive Trump's leadership? And what implications does it hold for U.S. foreign policy in the coming years? We'll explore these reactions in depth, address concerns, and examine the potential effects on international relations. Let's begin with Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was one of the first to congratulate Donald Trump on his re-election. Netanyahu, who had cultivated a strong relationship with Trump during his first term, expressed his optimism for continued U.S. support, particularly in light of the ongoing tensions in the Middle East. Under Trump's leadership, the U.S. made significant moves, including relocating its embassy to Jerusalem, recognizing the Golan Heights as part of Israel, and adopting a firm stance against Iran. Netanyahu is hopeful that a second term would solidify these policies and further enhance Israel's security. President Trump has been a steadfast friend of Israel. Trump's re-election could bring more stability to Israel in the region, particularly considering the recent normalization agreements with several Arab nations. However, the key question now is how the U.S. will approach Iran moving forward. Israel views Iran as a significant threat, and Trump's firm stance on Tehran has been a major point of agreement between the two countries. Next, we turn to Ukraine, where President Volodymyr Zelensky also congratulated Trump, but for a different reason. Zelensky expressed his hopes that the U.S. would continue to support Ukraine, especially in its ongoing conflict with Russia. Under the Trump administration, the U.S. provided Ukraine with military aid and imposed sanctions on Russia. While Trump's foreign policy approach was often unpredictable, many Ukrainian officials are hopeful for a continuation of this support, regardless of who leads the U.S. at the time. Zelensky: "We hope for continued support in our fight for sovereignty. Given Russia's aggressive actions, particularly in Crimea and the eastern regions of Ukraine, Zelensky recognizes the importance of continued American involvement." Trump's stance on Russia, while sometimes controversial, has been clear when it comes to applying economic pressure and providing military aid. Finally, we turn to Russia, where President Vladimir Putin is the focus of our attention. Putin's leadership has been a significant factor in shaping the changing dynamics in the region. Then there's Russia, where President Vladimir Putin also congratulated Trump. However, his comments were quite revealing. Putin praised Trump's bravery and suggested that his leadership could lead to a more constructive approach to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Putin: "We are ready to work with a U.S. leader who seeks to build more constructive relations." Putin has repeatedly called for direct dialogue with the U.S. and has been vocal about his preference for Trump's leadership style. Whether it's due to Trump's willingness to challenge NATO or his more isolationist tendencies, it's clear that Putin hopes to steer the relationship in a direction that could benefit Russia, particularly in terms of easing sanctions and fostering economic ties. While some leaders have praised Trump, there are numerous concerns from European allies. Leaders in countries like Germany and France have expressed worries about the future of NATO and the broader transatlantic relationship. Trump's criticism of NATO, his questioning of Article 5, the Mutual Defense Clause, left many European countries feeling uncertain about their security. With Trump in office, there's a possibility that the U.S. could further reduce its commitment to NATO, leaving European countries to shoulder the burden. Angela Merkel: "We must collaborate, but we also need to prepare for a future without relying solely on the U.S." While many European leaders have publicly congratulated Trump, the reality is that Europe is adopting a more cautious approach. The U.S.'s role in Europe's defense is crucial, but if Trump's second term continues his America First policies, Europe may need to reconsider its security and defense strategies. Another country closely observing the U.S. election is China. While China has been cautious not to publicly express favor for one candidate over the other, it's evident that Beijing has its own interests at heart. Trump's hardline stance on trade, technology, and military posturing in the South China Sea has made China wary. However, China's leadership maintains a pragmatic approach. Regardless of who occupies the White House, China recognizes the U.S. as its primary global competitor. China's primary objective is predictability. If Trump continues his economic and trade war, China will adapt, but they hope for more clarity in U.S.-China relations moving forward. Middle Eastern leaders such as Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, moving on to the Middle East, leaders there are also grappling with the prospect of another Trump term. Some, such as Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, are eager to preserve the close alliance the U.S. has cultivated with the Gulf states, particularly in the areas of security and energy. However, Trump's stance on withdrawing troops from the region has created uncertainty. How will U.S. involvement in the Middle East evolve under his leadership? Will America continue to support the region's autocratic regimes, or will it further reduce its presence? In Latin America, leaders like Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro have been quick to congratulate Trump. Bolsonaro, who shares many of Trump's right-wing ideologies, is hopeful for continued support on economic and political matters. The close relationship between the two leaders has raised questions about U.S. policy toward the region, particularly concerning issues such as trade, environmental protection, and the ongoing crisis in Venezuela. In the Middle East, the situation is equally uncertain. Iran and Palestine are both grappling with their own challenges and uncertainties. Turning to the Middle East once more, Iran and Palestine have a more intricate relationship with the U.S. Under Trump, Iran faced severe sanctions that severely crippled its economy. Consequently, Iran's leadership has been more cautious in its response to Trump's re-election. While there is hope that a second term might bring some relief, the continuation of Trump's maximum pressure campaign will likely keep Iran on high alert. On the other hand, Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas congratulated Trump on his re-election, despite his controversial stance on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Palestinians in Gaza have expressed hope that a change in leadership might bring an end to the ongoing war. However, with Trump's unwavering support for Israel, this prospect remains uncertain. Finally, let's examine Afghanistan, where the Taliban expressed their hopes for improved relations with the U.S. under a second Trump term. After all, Trump was the one who negotiated the Doha Agreement, which paved the way for the U.S. troop withdrawal. For the Taliban, a second Trump term presents an opportunity to solidify their position and further conclude the U.S. presence in Afghanistan. As we observe, the reactions to Donald Trump's re-election are diverse and intricate. While some nations are rejoicing in his return, others harbor apprehensions regarding its implications for global relations. From Israel to Russia, Ukraine to Iran, Trump's second term is poised to profoundly influence international affairs. We're curious to know your thoughts. Will Trump persist in his America First foreign policy pivot, or will there be adjustments? Share your insights in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable the notification bell to stay informed about the latest international news and analysis. See you next time.